Hey everyone, Golden Ninja 3000 here again. Today I'm reviewing a LEGO Dino set from 2012. This is set number 5886 T-Rex Hunter. It has 480 pieces, 2 minifigures, and it retailed for $70 back in 2012. Nowadays it costs about $150 new, but I actually got this on eBay for $85 because it seems like someone had started building it but never finished. So all of the parts are in new condition. The sticker sheet was mostly unused, and the dinosaur is still in amazing condition. So I really lucked out with this find, and I'm a big fan of LEGO Dino, which is why I wanted to review this set. I do want to remind you guys that I am an employee of the LEGO Group, but all opinions expressed in these videos are my own and do not necessarily reflect the views of the LEGO Group. And LEGO is a registered trademark of the LEGO Group of companies, which does not sponsor, authorize, or endorse this site. Both of our minifigures are just referred to as heroes. This one is listed on Bricklink as the Scout. He does have the old-style tranquilizer gun, which still looks amazing. Pretty good torso and leg printing for 2012, but obviously you can just tell that this is a little bit of a more dated LEGO minifigure. I find it really fascinating how, minifigures and builds have changed so much in just a couple of years, because I was really into these sets when they came out in 2012. I got a couple of the Dino ones, and I always wanted this one. And I think I had bought it a few years ago, and I ended up selling it for some reason, but I wanted it back because I missed it, so I bought it again. That's happened to me a couple of times, but not often. He does have back printing as well, which I don't think was super common in 2012, but he doesn't have an alternate face. And nowadays, I think a minifigure like this would definitely have an alternate face. This is the helicopter pilot. He has great torso printing with that Dino logo on his chest, although he doesn't get leg printing. He has this classic helmet and goggle combination, and underneath, actually I'll just pop that off, you can see that he's really sweating. I always loved this face print when I was a kid because I thought it added a lot to the story, because I'd be sweating too if I had to be chasing down dinosaurs, and he does have some pretty excellent back printing as well. Of course, the main star of the show here is the T-Rex. That's what every kid wants, and I did like this one's color scheme, I think a little bit more than the green and brown version that I ended up getting in 2012 in the Dino Defense Headquarters set. But this one has a more realistic color scheme, I'd say, based on what we know about dinosaurs, because it's this mix of dark orange and dark red with dark brown printing. And I still think that this looks fantastic. The dinosaur printing quality in LEGO sets has not changed a lot in recent years, and I think that this is still one of the best T-Rexes that LEGO has ever put out. So yeah, print quality is really great. Like I said, even though the dinosaur was already assembled and didn't come in sealed bags, it's not scratched or anything. I don't think it's been played with roughly, because you can tell that there's still plenty of friction in the joints. You can still hear the clicks when you move the legs, and that's a good way of telling that it's still in good condition. Because, for example, on that olive green T-Rex that I had from 2012, none of its joints click anymore. They're all super loose because of how much I played with it. So I was super happy to find out that this is still in great condition. The same goes for the head. You can hear that click in the jaw, which means that it's still pretty new. And then, honestly, I don't think that this was ever played with. I really feel like someone just started building it. A kid started building it and never finished, and then their parents found it 10 years later and listed it on eBay. I think that kind of stuff happens a lot. But of course, if you're familiar with LEGO dinosaurs at all, you'll know kind of how they can be posed. You can also rotate the tail. This feels brand new. I'm so happy. I really think that this was a steal for $85, considering that it usually goes for around $150 new. And then there is this contraption on its back. These are the claws to kind of have it held up by the helicopter. And I'm pulling the entire thing apart instead of pulling it off the dinosaur's back. But this is just a pretty nice little build, and it just kind of clamps around the dinosaur's body. And then you can lift the whole thing up by the helicopter's chain, but I'll show you guys that in a minute. Of course, you do have just the 8 studs on the back, so that someone can ride it, or you can capture it using a contraption like this. We also have this little ATV and trailer side build. This is actually a printed part on the front, which I forgot that piece was printed back in 2012, but that is really, really excellent. I think it's an awesome printed part. You can fit one minifigure here, and you do get an extra tranquilizer gun. And then the trailer can actually just be detached, and then you have this little claw so that it can stand up on its own. And inside the crate, you have binoculars and a camera. You can detach the crate from the trailer, and then it can also be picked up by the helicopter, which I think is pretty good for play. And then, of course, we have the main build, the helicopter itself. Even though this set only has 480 pieces, the designer really put like as much as they possibly could into it because this helicopter is huge just in its overall size. It's obviously very empty in the center because you have to pick up a dinosaur there, but the whole thing is just such a unique shape. It rolls forward on these wheels, and like the little arms coming out the side are just, it's so interesting. I've never seen a vehicle designed like this, either in Lego sets or in real life. And I don't know if this is based on any real life vehicle because Lego does do that sometimes. Like a lot of the city space sets will be based on like concept art for space vehicles NASA is working on. So I don't know if there's a real world inspiration behind this shape, but it's really unique and I really like it. You can kind of pick the whole thing up by the end here. It is strong enough to do that. And actually, before I bought this set a few years ago and before I bought it now, I had tried building this using pieces that I just had at home in like 2013, which was really difficult because I didn't have a huge Lego collection in 2013, so I didn't have a lot of the parts I need. But I have very fond memories of trying to build like this entire center section and like one of the arms and a little bit of the cockpit. I have really fond memories of trying to build that by myself out of the parts I had in like a bunch of weird colors. So the build of this set is always going to be like one of my favorite Lego toys ever, just because I have so many memories associated with it. You can see that the rotors are a little bit wobbly. That's definitely something that I think would be improved like with today's builds because they aren't weak. They're not about to fall off. Like you can give them a good spin and they'll be just fine, but it just feels a little wobbly and I do think it would be assembled differently with like today's building standards. But let's go ahead and start with the tail. So these were the stickers that were already applied when I purchased the set. Usually I don't like buying used because stickers that aren't placed perfectly really annoy me, so that's why I like getting new sets. But these are actually applied pretty well, and they are the only stickers that were already applied. And you do have a pretty large tail rotor on the side here. And then, like I said, the arms, or I guess the legs, because they're not really arms of the helicopter, are just kind of clipped into like the fuselage up there. And it is a pretty good connection. Like these don't feel weak at all. You do have a bunch of stickers applied showing some dinosaur scratches and mechanical details. And I think that that is a great addition. And you do have this large sticker on this Technic panel that says aerial capture unit with the set number, which I think is a nice reference, with more dino scratches. And that is repeated on both sides. This sticker was actually ripped a little bit, but you can barely notice it. I think it was at the edge right here, but I'm really happy that it's still applied cleanly, and like I said, it's very unnoticeable. These aren't really locked into place, so you can kind of move them around. That's another area where I think if this set was made today, it would be attached in like multiple places or have some kind of stopper to make sure it couldn't fold out. And again, like that's not anything wrong with the build of this set. Like I said, it's just interesting that you can kind of tell how design standards have changed in the last couple of years. And the stickers on this leg are different from the stickers on the other side, but they're very similar in concept. You've got these big turbine engines up here that look pretty good, and they're attached to a very unique piece that I don't think I've seen in like any other Lego set, and this was a major source of pain when I was trying to build this from my own parts back in 2013. But it's this like 2x4 by like 2/3 brick with like 8 studs on each side and 8 studs on the top. It's just a really strange part, and I don't recall seeing it anywhere else in my childhood. I should probably check Bricklink actually and see how many sets that came in. But yeah, this is actually a good chance to look at the rotors like disconnected from the main helicopter. They are a pretty nice design. They're using these really large helicopter blade pieces that were also used on Ninjago Dragon Wings around this time in LEGO history. So again, that's pretty nice. and they just attach right up there. And like I said, you can give them a really good spin, and they're so big, like even though this helicopter is so large and unwieldy, rotors of this size really make it believable that this thing can actually fly. And then finally, we have the cockpit. You can see some tranquilizer missiles at the front here. These are flick fire missile parts, but you can't actually fire them. And that's kind of strange. Like, there's nothing on this helicopter that shoots. And I really would have loved if these were like working flick fire missiles because they look fantastic. But honestly, flick fire missiles were great like play features, and you really don't see them in many LEGO sets nowadays. They haven't completely disappeared, but they've definitely been replaced by stud shooters and missile launchers, and I kind of miss them. So they were like a huge hallmark of 2012 sets. I remember seeing them in like all of my sets as a kid, and I really would have loved to see like maybe the side ones be working like missile shooters. But again, that's just a nitpick. I really like the shaping on the front using these pieces. And this is the very first set that I ever saw with this cockpit shape, because when I was trying to build it from my own parts, this was like the biggest headache for me. I didn't have this part, and so I couldn't really build the cockpit because it is like really shaped to this piece. You do have another sticker on top with the Dino Team's logo, and then this whole thing just opens up like that. It's kind of a weak connection, but not so weak that it's going to break off. And then inside, there's only seating for one person, which is kind of ridiculous on a cockpit this big. You could absolutely fit like 3 to 4 minifigures, but at the very least, you could fit 2. And reddish brown is a color that is very brittle. So even though all of these parts like seemed to be new, this seat did crack when I was placing it down. So I think it like cracked right down there. So if I ever dismantle this, when I pull that up, this thing is probably just going to break. But that's a known color with reddish brown pieces. I'm just sad that it happened. It always bothers me when I'm building an old set and then the reddish brown colors crack. But you do have a joystick here, and then you do have a printed console in there. If I can, maybe I can zoom in a little bit. But yeah, I always loved seeing printed consoles in LEGO sets because printed parts are always nice to see. You can just place the pilot in the seat and then shut the cockpit, and it just locks onto those couple of headlight brick studs. And then you're ready to fly off into the sunset with your dinosaur. So speaking of the dinosaur, the chain just kind of dangles down. Actually, let me zoom out a little bit. The chain just dangles down from like in between the fuselage, and it just has a hook on it. So let's take our T-Rex, and then you can just attach the hook to this piece right here, and then, oh, whoops, it fell off. Okay, attach the hook, and then grab the helicopter by the end, and let me try to tilt this up, and then you can just pull it up, and you can like fly off into the distance. I don't think that this is the best angle, but I think you guys can get the idea. The T-Rex really fits well underneath the helicopter, and like this is just so much fun. Like it's so much fun to pick up a T-Rex and just go flying around with something like this. And the fact that it's so well balanced and that you can just grab it from the back, it's just an awesome toy. I still think that even today. And what I like even more is that it's really easy to land with this thing. Like you can land and then the T-Rex just still fits like in between the helicopter like this, or you can kind of shrink him down a little bit and then move him like more directly underneath. But either way, it works, and I just am really impressed by the LEGO group getting such a large dinosaur to fit so perfectly underneath this helicopter. And maybe this is a slightly better angle for you to see the helicopter and the dinosaur together, but like I said, it works really well, and unless you're like really whipping this around, I don't think the T-Rex is going to fall off of the chain whatsoever. Here are the extra parts for this set. I know I have way too many extras of the blue Technic pins, but I looked through the instructions like 4 times, every single step, and I can't tell where the 2 that I didn't insert go, so oh well. The box for this set is quite large, but it honestly like de-emphasizes the size of the helicopter because the dinosaur is kind of the focus, so you don't really realize how big the helicopter is, I feel like, until you build it. On top, we just have some of the minifigures, and then, whoops. At the back, we do have other images of the set in action. The instruction manuals for this set are also a major throwback, with like the classic like parts dumping page, and then the fact that all the minifigures used to come in bag one. So again, it was just a nice throwback. You have an ad for all of the other dino sets at the back, and I guess now I have more than half of them because I got this one and this one back in 2012. I got the Triceratops Trapper. This was the very first set I ever bought off of Bricklink, actually. I got this in like 2013, and then I got this one now. But yeah, the Dino Defense Headquarters, it was one of my favorite sets ever, and it still is, even though I haven't built it in many years. And I love seeing it. It's such a nice throwback to my childhood. And at the back of this manual, you have something which I really appreciate, which is just like a bunch of awesome pictures of this set in action. And this is the kind of stuff that I wish we still saw in LEGO instruction manuals today. And of course, you have the Win Kid at the back, who was also a classic. I thought this was an excellent set in 2012, and I still think it's an excellent set today. It's really fun to play with. It has a great exclusive dinosaur, a really fun build. The only thing I think could be better in terms of play would be having actually firing missiles on the helicopter. But besides that, this set is perfect on its own, and it's even better if you pair it with something like the Dino Defense Headquarters. And I think it was really like well priced back in 2012. Obviously, there's a big expensive animal in it, so you probably could have gotten more for your $70 in another theme. But nowadays, a set like this would cost at least $100, and I still think that by today's standards, like $100 wouldn't be a bad price for it. So if you like LEGO dinosaurs, I'd honestly say that you should look out for a deal on this, and it would definitely be worth buying used, as long as you could guarantee that the dinosaur is in good condition. But that's it for today. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and check out my website, goldenninja3000.com, and I'll see you guys with more videos soon. Bye for now.